Are you here? Well, of course you're here. You? Well, you're you. And here is the Paul Leslie Hour. Hey, in this episode, we're going to play you the Money Mark interview, which we're bringing out of our radio archives. Money Mark, born Mark Ramos Nishita. He's a producer, a recording artist, a songwriter, and a keyboardist. At the time of this interview, Money Mark's recent album was Brand New by Tomorrow on Brushfire Records. He took a few minutes to talk to your host, Paul Edward Leslie, just moments before getting on stage to perform with the Beastie Boys. You'll probably listen to this interview with Money Mark and get the impression he's quite a fascinating guy. And that's not a shocking thought. How many people do you meet named Money Mark? Paul's been talking to fascinating people for, 20 years. He's got a wealth of these interviews all available for free on YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Paul Leslie, and ring that bell. Ding, ding. And oh yeah, won't you please like the Paul Leslie Hour on Facebook? We'd love that. And now, what do you say we hear what Money Mark has to say? Let's do that.
It is with great pleasure that we welcome our special guest, Money Mark. So first of all, thank you so much for making the time to do an interview with us today.
Right on. It's my pleasure, man. I'm in beautiful downtown Baltimore, Maryland, getting ready to jump on stage with the Beastie Boys, and I got a few moments to talk.
So I was hoping you could tell us, just to kind of go back to the beginning, what kind of music do you remember listening to growing up?
Both of my parents were really into music, and my mom she sang a little bit of jazz, and she grew up kind of in Texas, and she sang. Basically, the whole family were musicians. They were on the porch singing, as part of their culture on the weekends. So they were singing mostly like Spanish language, polkas and corridos and this kind of thing. Maybe that kind of turned into like Tejano music, and then because of the whole jazz thing, I was listening to all the greats back in the day, and then I gravitated toward like Jimmy Smith. Constitution, and so I figured I was liking the keyboards some. But it wasn't just that. I listened to all kinds of music too. Like what was on the radio was really good at that time. So I liked listening to the basic classic rock kind of people, Hendrix and the Beatles and all that stuff. The jazz thing was kind of the thing where I had more like an exclusive listening kind of life. And then everything else was like listening to what was on the radio, TV.
So I was hoping you could tell us, what part of the country did you grow up in?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan. Before I was a teenager, I moved to Los Angeles. At that moment, I already had been totally influenced by all that Motown stuff and all that early rock, Detroit rock stuff and jazz. And I didn't know it, but I had a rich kind of listening experience, but I didn't realize it until later.
Do you remember a particular moment in your life when you realized, I'm going to be a musician and that's all there is to it?
Oh, that really hasn't happened yet. I think it might happen soon, though. As long as people keep asking me about it, then maybe it's going to happen. So I haven't quite figured it out yet, because I really feel like working in my wood shop. And I like fixing cars and doing electronic stuff. I don't know, I like tinkering around with stuff. But I guess the music thing's been paying the bills. I mean, for the most part, it's been paying my bills. Actually, it has been paying my bills. And then some. So sometimes when like the Beastie Boys were asking me to go on this tour, like, I was kind of thinking, like, oh, it sucks, man, I have to go on a tour. I have to, like, put down my tools are going to get rusty in the garage or something. But I'm starting to resign to it. I'm getting to be an old man, and I figure I guess I should start calling myself a musician.
I don't think anybody's answered that question in the way that you just did. So that's a good thing.
Okay.
I was hoping you could tell us about some of the artists that you've worked with, is there one that you're especially proud of? I mean, it's a very impressive list. You know, the Beastie Boys, who you're playing with right now, Yoko Ono, Beck. Is there one that sticks out in your mind that you're especially proud of?
Well, they all have something special going. You know, the collaborations I do always really kind of just happen as something natural, like some kind of magnetic, mutual kind of feeling, you know. So I have memories of, like, many, many memories of these amazing, every time I collaborate, you know, I actually kept a little journal, and, like, all of them were special. So I couldn't really single them out. I would, you know, working with Yoko Ono was kind of cool. I learned stuff from everybody. So in that case, it's hard for me to say this or that. But I had amazing experiences outside of music, and then to me, those were the things that really, besides the music itself and being in a studio and collaborating as a working thing, you know, working with people, you know, outside of that, but there's people that I never, like, worked with, but I associate with them. I talked with them. I spent, like, a couple of days with, and I never really maybe recorded with them, but, like, some important musicians, I just would talk with them about music, and those were valuable too. Those were as enriching. Then there's, like, some collaborations where tapes were made, but those tapes never came out. So there was, like, these sessions that I don't know where these tapes are or whatever happened. After a Lollapalooza in, I think it was Pine Cove in 1994, that's near Detroit. There, we had some days off, and I went to the United Studios with George Clinton and the whole gang, and I hung out there for a couple of days and recorded a bunch of stuff with Gary Skyder and George and Amp Fiddler, and there's so many names I don't even know the names. Bernie World keyboard. Bernie wasn't there. I don't know. Bernie wasn't really in the picture at that moment. And then there's some late night jam sessions with Ben Montpench, and I missed a jam session with John Paul Jones was there, and there's no tape recorder going on. I mean, even the jam sessions with Yoko, they were taped, but I don't even know where those tapes are. I think they have yet to come out. And then countless times with the Beastie Boys, and I just played with Flea at this benefit in LA for raising money for a school. And it goes on and on. Like, every week I'm doing something really cool.
Wow, amazing. I was hoping you could tell us about one of your songs that's on your album, Brand New by Tomorrow. It's called Pick Up the Pieces.
Yeah, there's two greats on that album. Really, truly amazing people, totally open, and totally have the most amazing stories, maybe even face the Grim Reaper directly, you know, like Jim Keltner, one of the greatest drummers ever. Just to sit in the room and talk to the guy was just amazing. And same with Carol Kay. Carol Kay can tell you stories that'll just cut right through you. Then you have their musical sense and their performance. Like, it's really an honor to be able to be in a position to. I mean, people like that have to like your song first. So I was like, I'm not going to call them if I don't think they're going to like the song. So we got Carol. Actually, they couldn't both come at the same time, so we had Jim come out. And those two in particular, to me, I've worked with Jim a few times and Carol a couple times. In one or two takes, they've got it. I think Carol's take was one take. She mapped out the song. She listened to it and mapped it on paper, and she just nailed it in one take. And Jim nailed it in a couple takes. So I don't know, what can you say? I got those two great. And I think Carol just made the song happen. The chords and the melody were Jack Johnson and I were in Santa Barbara at his home one night, and we wrote this song together, and then Jack played a little bit of guitar on it just for the demo. I don't know if we ended up using any guitar. I don't think so. But I called Jim and Carol nailed the bass line, how those notes go against the melody. It was like really perfect. I mean, she is like that. It's magic.
I think my favorite song on the album is the first song. And I like Color of Your Blues.
Yeah, I like that song too. At the time I wrote that song, it was just right after Katrina in Louisiana, or in the South there, not just Louisiana, but mainly the city of New Orleans, and had a long-term relationship that was like kind of ending, and everything is good now, but at the time, I was like in the middle of it all. So I kind of had the two and the sentiments kind of like blended in the song. So I decided that, well, when I was writing a song, it just naturally just happened. And I actually wrote it on the piano, and it sounds really beautiful on the piano, but I totally stripped it down for that recording. It's like melodic guitar with a little tremolo sound, and the bass is really simple. And I just plucked out a beat just kind of with my fingers on the SP1200, the EMU sounds, which I think are Jim Kellner's sounds from way back in the day, those drum sounds. And it has like this, has a little bit of this New Orleans vibe to it. Yeah, I like that song. It is one of my favorites on that album.
It is a good song. When somebody listens to your albums or when they hear you in concert, what is it that you hope the listener gets out of the experience?
I can't really say that to like what the recipient is gonna, how they feel or how they, I'm not gonna dictate that, like how someone could accept it but I'm just putting it out there. As long as my emotive force is there and it's present, I think people will just get it. It'll convey. It'll telegraph, or it'll just emit somehow. And so it's a little abstract. That's the beauty of art. The beauty of it is that, there's this uncalculable thing that happens. I mean, I can even be watching television and you think there's I don't even know how television works, but I'm watching this thing on the screen and I'm totally getting it as a recipient myself. I was totally getting what this person is doing, even if it's taped many years ago. I'm getting their performance, so that's cool. I don't have any expectations of what people get out of it. Honesty is the key thing for me.
This can sometimes be hard for a musician to put into words, but what is it that you like about music?
Well, there's been some definitions of music in the past. I think George Bernard Shaw he said music is the brandy of the damned. For a while there, I was going with that. What I liked about music was that I can be a fuller person, because it's a way that I can express myself. I'd rather play a show, do a 15-minute performance, than do a 15-minute interview to get it out. But I'm trying to be as graceful as I can. I don't always hold that. I just think that it's something, for better or for worse, I can tell you that when I was a teenager, it saved my life. It kept me going. In an evening, I'd say, if there was a choice of driving down this dark street or going home and listening to a record, I would have chose going home and listening to a record or something like that.
Yeah.
Then it extended into my music, into my instruments. I had a guitar and a piano, and I love those things. I love them.
Well, I have two final questions before we go.
Okay.
I'm dead serious. What is your all-time favorite meal?
All-time favorite meal was my mom's chili on white rice.
On rice?
Yep.
Very interesting. Well, my final question. This broadcast is going out all over the world. What would you, Money Mark, like to say to all the people that are listening in?
Do the best you can and put out there the best person that you are, and promote peace and prosperity, and eat my mom's chili.
Well, Money Mark, thank you very much for sharing your music and your story with all of our listeners. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Been very nice to talk with you. And I think there's a crab cakes waiting for me backstage, so I better get to it.
All right. Well, have a good one.
Okay, man. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
We thank you and appreciate you dropping in for the Paul Leslie Hour today. You can help the Paul Leslie Hour in our mission to provide independent media content like this by visiting www.thepaullesley.com/support. We truly thank you. This is your announcer speaking. Performance of The Entertainer intro song and Corina Corina outro song, courtesy of John Primorano. Well, that's it for today. So until next time, be safe and be good.